live in Tampa, Florida at the Republican National Convention. Pete Hegseth, the president of Concerned Veterans for America. The website, oddly enough, is concernedveteransforamerica.org. And Pete, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. What are you guys concerned about?
We're concerned about the freedoms that we fought for overseas. You know, you got generations of veterans that have gone overseas to fight for the precious freedoms we have, the liberties we have, we share here. And we want to make sure that when we come home, we're a part of the conversation and the debate.
Pete, if I could interrupt you for just a second.
Yeah.
You are really, really faint, and the noise is really, really loud. And you might want to ask the talk radio people. First of all, you need to have your mouth just eating that microphone. And secondly, if they have a second microphone on for another guest, they might want to turn that one down. So let's start over again. You were saying.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
No.
You can't hear me very well.
Yeah.
I can't hear you very well.
Just get right up there and
okay,
eat,
here we go.
I
had the wrong mic.
Oh, no wonder. No wonder. Now I hear you just fine.
All right. You want me to start over, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah. Let's just start over.
Okay.
So what are you concerned about?
Oh, you know, we're concerned about the freedoms here at home. It's always fragile. Nothing we have here is inevitable. Generations of men and women have gone overseas to fight for our freedoms, which are precious. The liberties we have, the free enterprise system we have here, and we look at the policies and things here in the United States, and we want to be a part of that policy and advocacy discussion and make sure that we're advancing the liberties we fought for here, expanding freedom, expanding our free enterprise system, growth and prosperity, and making sure that we're not subject to the kinds of decline that we've seen other nations like ours go through in history.
Are you concerned that the military is the victim of a hustle? For example, ExxonMobil uses our Navy to protect their shipping lanes, and this is an expense that you and I pay through our taxes of tens of billions of dollars a year, and yet ExxonMobil pays no taxes at all in the United States.
Well, I don't know the details of ExxonMobil's
well, they're not the only
history.
one. This is true of almost all of the oil companies.
Sure, but we have a global economy. We're a part of a global economy. We benefit from the
but
trade
shouldn't
we have
care
across
about
the
the
country.
American economy first?
Oh, absolutely we do, and our exports are a pretty important part of that. And if we're not able to export our goods to other countries, then we're not able to maintain the kind of economy we have. And frankly, part of the problem is the rest of the world is sitting out. No one else in the world is capable of defending the seas, the sea lanes, other interests around the globe, other than the United States.
Whom?
We're it. So if we don't do it, whether it's regular crime. See, you can't just say for whom, because absent our presence, we don't know what those waters would truly look like. And because the United States is there providing that presence, we don't see the kind of whatever hijackings or disruptions in our commerce that you might otherwise see without
you are
a U.S. presence.
You are a genuine imperialist. I mean, you really believe that America should be an imperial force that is essentially the force that rules the world and keeps it safe.
I don't know that I would refer to myself as an imperialist. I do think we have interests abroad, and part of our military's job, in addition to protecting the homeland, is ensuring that our economic interests are protected around the globe as well.
What do you think about George Washington and his farewell address, where he said, please avoid foreign entanglements, and the Monroe Doctrine?
But you can always go too far with one quote or two. I mean, should we have not been foreign entangled in World War II? There are entanglements we're inclined to be a part of because there are larger things to defend. And,
sure.
So it's not. You can't just say a one-off. What we're trying to say is having a strong military is important, but at the same time, the big thing we're worried about is the $16 trillion debt mark we're going to hit next month or next week.
How does that affect anything?
Well, how does it affect anything? Look at the Budget Control Act and the Super Committee that gave us sequestration.
We're paying an incredibly low interest rate. People want to park their money in our debt, and by the way, that debt is far less as a percentage of our GDP than the debt that we had after World War II. And you know how Dwight Eisenhower, a brilliant military general, we were at 127% of GDP of debt at that time.
We're approaching that.
After World War II. I know, we're approaching that. We're in the neighborhood of 100% right now, or a little over. So you know how Eisenhower paid that off?
I don't.
He grew the economy. He built highways from one end of this country to the other, the Eisenhower highway system. He built new schools. He built new hospitals. He created infrastructure. He gave money and credits to companies for innovation and R&D, and he pushed the GI Bill like crazy, with a huge advertising campaign so that men all over the United States, mostly men, but women as well, but mostly men who'd come back from World War II, would actually sign up for college and get college degrees. So we had the government stimulating the economy by putting an entire generation of people through college, including the fathers of several of the people who are going to be speaking tonight at the Republican National Convention, and who were the very first in their families to have that. And that stimulation that Eisenhower did in the early 1950s not only got us out of the debt that we had and the recession that had been a piece of it, but built over the next 30 years the strongest industrial economy in the history of the United States and the strongest middle class.
So in light of the size of our federal government and the 4 years in a row of trillion-dollar deficits, your answer to the problem is spend more with money we don't have?
My money,
I don't know how that gets us out of the debt and deficit
I would do two things.
It doesn't.
If we look at the debt, first of all, about a quarter of the debt is the Bush tax cuts. That's going to expire. About a quarter of the debt is the result of the Bush recession. There's not much we can do about that except stimulate the economy, and that's where I'm suggesting Eisenhower's solution. And I think Eisenhower's solution would take care of half of the debt. About a third of the debt is the result of the fact that the Medicare cannot negotiate drug prices for like the military can, like TRICARE can. TRICARE can buy penicillin. They buy 500,000 tablets. They can get them for a penny apiece. Medicare has to pay $5 a tablet. This is legislation that was pushed by the Republicans to hurt Medicare.
Well, I believe there's a Medicare reform.
You want to deal with the debt problem. I can just go right through the debt right now and tell you where it all came from and how we can get rid of all of it. No problem.
Hey, I like what you said about Medicare. I mean, hopefully you and I could agree that it needs to be reformed.
It would be a good idea if they could at least negotiate drug prices.
If they could at least negotiate, so the government sort of price controls is the answer with that.
I'm talking competition. I'm talking the free market. Right now, if the U.S. military wants to buy 1 million tablets of aspirin, they go to Bayer and they say, okay, we know that your price on one tablet, you go in the hospital, what do they charge you for an aspirin? $5, right?
Well, the problem is you don't know what they charge you at the hospital.
Well, yeah, but that's a whole other argument. But the point is they're going to charge you a retail price. So the military, the Department of Defense goes to Bayer Company and says, we want to buy 1 million tablets of aspirin. How much is it going to be? And Bayer says, okay, it's a tenth of a penny apiece. If Medicare goes to Bayer, they are not allowed by law to say what is the wholesale price. They have to say, what would the retail price be if I walked into a pharmacy and I bought one tablet of aspirin? And that is what Medicare has to pay for that aspirin. That was put into place by Billy Towson, the Republican from Louisiana. It was voted into place by the Republicans during the Bush administration. Billy Towson got a special exemption to leave Congress 2 months early. He went to work as a $2 million a year head of the pharma, the pharmaceutical lobbying association, and that is a good chunk of your deficit there.
So it's not a huge chunk of the deficit. You're picking
it's about
one
20%
particular
of
piece
it.
of that. That is 20% of our debt. Medicare,
absolutely.
Medicare is, but until you deal with the structure of Medicare,
that's what I'm talking about.
No, I'm talking about
totally
fee for service.
The structure of this
I'm talking
thing.
about fee for service that provides.
They've turned it into a hustle for their pharmaceutical buddies.
Until you provide any sort of transparency in cost of what people are paying for, fee for service as it's currently structured, there's no incentives for costs to ever go down because the free market doesn't shine into the Medicare system as it currently exists. And so what I like a proposal like a premium support plan where you do provide money to individuals to choose Medicare as it exists.
So let's have health savings accounts.
Try other things. You have to give people choice, first of all, and you have to have transparency in
I'm sorry,
cost.
if I'm having a heart attack, I don't want
down.
choice. I just want to dial 911 and get it taken care of. But I get your point, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good talking with you. Pete Hegseth, President of Concerned Veterans for America.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Their website, by the way, concernedveteransforamerica.org. You can check it all out there. We'll be right back.